Welcome back everyone. Another important video on request, workbook solutions, your morning star workbook solutions, When Great Trees Fall, written by Angelou. In today's session, I'm going to discuss all the RTC extracts in detail, and I'm also going to give you certain hints regarding the solutions of the specimen question papers that are there in your workbook. Do check the pinned comment section for all important video links related to your syllabus, and also subscribe to our channel, like, share and comment, and also tap the bell icon. Come on, let's begin today's discussion. It's extract 1. It is there on the screen. I have highlighted all the key words and expressions. So, what is the first question? State 3 effects of the fall of great trees in the forest. 3 effects. Keep this in mind. When huge trees collapse in the forest, number 1, rocks on distant hills shudder. Number 2, lions crouch low in the field. And number 3, elephants slumber in search of shelter. 1, 2, 3. So, 3 effects of the fall of great trees in the forest. Dear students, write your answers in this way. Brief answers, to the point answers, highlighting all key words and expressions, and also read the text thoroughly. Question 2. Why do rocks on distant hills shudder? What is suggested by the shuddering? When giant trees collapse, the impact is felt far and wide, and its intensity is immense. The rocks are immobile. Rocks cannot move on their own. They are immobile. Yet, they feel the vibrations and shudder, shake suddenly. And this is suggestive. This shuddering suggests that the landscape itself trembles with fear. When great trees fall, the impact is immense. It is felt far and wide. And all the elements of nature experience this kind of profound impact, immense impact. Answer number 2. Answer number 3 now. Lions are regarded as fearsome predators. Still, they hunker down in grasses. Why? And what does this fear symbolize? Falling trees make the lions hunker down in grasses. This is a response, specifically a reflexive response to the disturbance caused by the fall of great trees. That is, they are scared for their safety. Next. What does this fear symbolize? Again, students, if there are subparts, keep changing the paragraphs accordingly. Do not write in a single paragraph. For each subpart, there must be a separate paragraph. This fear symbolizes how powerful such losses can be. The strongest elements of the natural world crouch down in shock. So there is fear, there is shock, and display the disruption of their natural habitat and the instinctual need to seek safety and protection. Which points are important over here? Strongest elements of the natural world. We have rocks, we have the lion, we have elephants. The strongest elements of the natural world crouch down in shock, and they display the disruption of their natural habitat. Natural habitat, the place where they live. Suddenly, when great trees collapse, the landscape trembles. And this is a disruption of their natural habitat. And it also displays the instinctual need to seek safety and protection from danger. Third answer. Now, question 4. Explain briefly the meaning of the line, and even elephants slumber after safety. Elephants are enormous, slow-moving creatures. These are the features of elephants. They are huge, they move slowly, And when great trees fall, they move slowly, heavily, and awkwardly, naturally. This is a natural reaction. Even though they are so big, even though they cannot run around quickly, they move heavily and awkwardly to find shelter from the potential dangers posed by the disturbance. So, the animals seek shelter. They can sense the potential dangers posed by the disturbance and they want their own safety and they go in search of shelter. Which figure of speech in fact is used in the above line? The figure of speech is metaphor where the movement of the lions is compared to lumbering, indicating their slow and heavy gait. They move slowly. Next, explain with examples the metaphoric use of trees in the poem. This is a very important question. Symbolism of great trees, metaphoric use of trees. Learn this properly. The great trees metaphorically stand for the great souls, larger than life, who nurture the world around them and whose deaths affect everything in their orbit. The deaths of exceptional people have a profound impact on humanity. We relied on their tender care and guidance, so now our souls shrivel up and feel lost. So these people guide us, they support us emotionally, intellectually, they contribute to our emotional and intellectual growth, development and well-being. They are great leaders. They bring about massive cultural change. Hence, great trees, metaphorically, stand for the great souls, the exceptional people, the significant, influential people who have contributed a lot in society. So, this is the last question of RTC 1. Now RTC 2, extract 2 is there on the screen. What are the small things? Up till now, we were talking about the strongest elements of nature. And now, what are the small things referred to in this extract? What happened to them when great trees fall? The small things are the little creatures in nature which are found along with the huge animals. So, in the ecosystem, to maintain the ecological balance, there are huge animals and there are small creatures as well. Both small and big animals respond alike. They are filled with shock and fear. The manifestations may be different, but both are taken aback when great trees fall. They feel the impact of such huge losses. What are the small things? So, small things are the little creatures in nature which are found along with the huge animals. And what happened to them? When great trees fall in the woods, the little creatures recoil into silence, too shocked to even be scared. Their senses eroded beyond fear. This is what happened when great trees fall. The big animals, they search shelter, and the little creatures, they are too numb, too shocked to be scared. Their senses eroded beyond fear. What are the small things contrasted with in the previous extract of the poem? The little creatures curl up in silence while the strongest, sturdiest, even the most fearsome predators like lions, elephants display an instinctual need to seek refuge. What is the meaning of refuge? Shelter. Out of fear. The little creatures, however, are too shocked to be scared and are unable to seek shelter for safety. They become numb. What happens to the senses of small things when great trees fall? The senses of the little creatures are eroded. I have quoted from the text and have also explained the expression, that is, overwhelmed or diminished beyond fear. They do not know how to react, numbness. And how can this be compared with those of the human beings? The little creatures become numb. Similarly, human beings become numb. Their minds fall away. They lose their grip on their minds following the deaths of exceptional people. Name two poetic devices used in this extract. Give an example of each. Now, students, the length of the answer is going to vary depending on the question available. Also, my handwriting may not be like yours, so the length will automatically get adjusted according to the question available in the examination hall. So don't worry, write brief answers including all keywords and expressions, but all answers will not fit in just one line or two lines. There are questions which need a little bit of description because this is what they are asking you to write. For example, look at this question. Name two poetic devices. I'll have to mention two poetic devices and then I'll have to give two examples. So definitely this is not going to fit in just 3 lines as given in your workbook. So study with an open mind and please don't complain that ma'am, your answers are lengthy. Dear students, these are reference materials. Read them, go through the sessions and frame your own answers depending on the question available. It's pretty simple. Name two poetic devices. The two poetic devices used in this extract are number 1, alliteration, number 2, metaphor. And examples now, I have changed paragraphs. The expression, small things recoil into silence, their senses is an example of alliteration. Easy. SSS. Falling of great trees in the forest is a metaphor for deaths of exceptional individuals who contributed greatly to society and perhaps brought about a cultural change. This is the concept. So clarify your concepts right at the very beginning and then you will be able to frame your own answers. No problem at all. Explain how do the great trees impact both big and small things. Same question is repeated, but you do not repeat the points. Marks will be deducted. When the great trees fall in the forest, the impact is felt far and wide. Creatures large and small are startled or cower in fear. Lions, elephants become aware of their safety. So this is the answer in brief. The same concept. Extract 3 now. What is the effect of the death of the great souls on the air around us? When great souls die, the air around us becomes number 1, light, number 2, rare, number 3, sterile. I have quoted from the text. And what does this suggest? This suggests the stark change, the radical change people feel in their environment after the loss of the great souls. Number 1. Number 2, it conveys a lack of vibrancy or energy in the air. You feel suffocated, you feel lost, you feel so sad and overwhelmed that the air lacks vibrancy or energy, as if something crucial has been sucked out, drawn out, leaving a vacuum. The atmosphere becomes stagnant, symbolizing lack of inspiration. Next, which figure of speech is used in the lines given below? What does it suggest? We breathe briefly, arise briefly, see. So breathe briefly and briefly. I have mentioned alliteration. And what does it suggest? The speaker suggests that the bereaved find their senses overwhelmed by the loss of their loved ones. They do not know what they are going to do, how they are going to react. So they feel lost. their senses are overwhelmed, and their eyes only see briefly, they gasp and see things. What do our eyes see with hurtful clarity? Why? Our eyes see with hurtful clarity certain unvarnished truths revealing the grim realities of life. Formerly, perhaps the presence of the significant individuals may have softened the harsh realities of life. They functioned as our protector with their leadership and guidance. So, not many things were revealed to us. Things were softened, may have been softened. But now, in their absence, we see things with a heightened clarity. Why? We see things vividly and clearly because of the absence of the filters or veil as a result of the deaths of the great souls. So, great souls, they had put a veil, a filter on these grim, harsh realities of life. It becomes too painfully clear to them that the world has changed forever. After the deaths of these people, when the bereaved, they think about the situation, they feel that the world has changed forever or things will never be the same without the great souls. And what happens to our memory after the death of a loved one? After the death of a loved one, our memory becomes suddenly sharpened. Direct quotation from the text. The loss of the great souls triggers a heightened clarity, and our focus in our recollection of past events and interactions. Heightened clarity. Explain how does this extract portray the feelings of despair and regret felt by the bereaved person after the loss someone close. This is again another important concept. Feelings of despair and regret. The expression gnaws on kind words unsaid, gnawing, conveys a sense of despair and regret felt by the bereaved person after the loss of someone close. There may have been moments or interactions which the bereaved might have overlooked when these significant people were alive. Now that they are dead, the bereaved, the people who remain behind on earth, they realize how they overlooked certain things, how they could talk or interact with these great men, how they could follow their principles, how they could express their greatness to them. The promised walks never taken shows the transitoriness of human life, and clarity about such things make them sorrowful. In fact, what happens to our reality when great souls die? The reality of the bereaved takes leave of them. When great souls die, reality changes, the world appears unrecognizable, turned upside down. So nothing is normal. Explain how do our souls depend on great souls for their nurture, and what happens when the great souls depart. Our souls depend on great souls for their nurture. We look up to these exceptional people for inspiration and guidance. We follow their footsteps. They play an important role in our lives through their leadership, activism, or creative endeavors. And what happens when these great souls depart? They die. When these great souls depart, our souls shrink, important, and become weazened, and our minds fall away, lose our grip on our minds. We lose our grip on our minds. Which figure of speech is used in the given line? In the line given below, our minds formed and informed. The figure of speech, our minds formed and informed, is personification, invested with the qualities of human beings. How do great souls impact our minds? The brilliance of the exceptional souls shape and enlighten us. So, How do they impact our mind? Shape and enlighten us. Number 1, these significant individuals provide wisdom. Number 2, aspiration. Number 3, that contribute to the growth and well-being of our inner selves. They serve as role models. Number 4, and impart valuable lessons that help us navigate through life. Number 5, important again. Why does the speaker say that we are not so much maddened? Though we lose our grip on our minds, we do not go crazy exactly. It is more that our minds are diminished, return to the unspeakable crudeness of the stone ages, diminishing of the faculties of mind of the bereaved. Explain the connotations. Many connotations, all of them you will have to explain associated with the phrase dark cold caves. Important. The impact of the loss of great souls on the bereaved is immense. The despair and emotional pain felt by them is described as dark, cold caves bereft of vibrancy of life. Another connotation is the loneliness, the solitude and incomprehension. You are unable to understand what is happening around you that accompany such a loss. And number 3, they sink into the spheres of ignorance and intellectual impoverishment. Intellectually, they suffer from impoverishment in the absence of great souls. Extract 5, it's there on the screen. How does peace bloom after a period? When great souls die after a period, peace blooms slowly and always irregularly. This peace thus comes eventually in fits and starts rather than all at once. धीरे धीरे से ये पीस आता है हमारी जिंदगी में. With spaces is the speaker talking about. How are these spaces filled? The word spaces mean the word spaces means the emptiness, the void created by the exceptional and influential people's death. These spaces, how are these spaces filled? They fill with a kind of something electrical vibration, that is, with a charged, comforting hum. And how are our senses restored? What do they whisper to us? The numbness fades and we are able to perceive the world again, though we will never experience things as we did before the loss of the great souls. Perhaps there is a lot more maturity this time, and our responses may also be mature. And what do they whisper to us? They whisper to us, they existed, we can go on living and live more meaningful lives. They existed, we can be better. So live more meaningful lives. Because such great souls existed, we begin to take comfort in this realization. Important. Which poetic device is used in they existed, what is suggested by the repetition? The figure of speech used in they existed is epigeuxis. This repetition emphasizes the significance of the great souls on lives and within the community. These souls reshape their entire culture, both in life and death, and this realization encourages us and comforts the bereaved. Our awareness of their existence inspires us to strive for improvement and growth. Explain, how does this extract signify the role played by great souls or immensely talented people to bring about a massive cultural change? So, I have written this in detail. Do a little bit of editing. Just here I have tried to explain the concept. Massive cultural change, another important theme. The contributions of great souls do not just disappear after their deaths. Both in life and death, they continue to exert their influence on us. Their ideas live on and make the world a better place. Even in death, these great individuals have the power to change the world. So both in life and death, they reshape their entire culture. The expression be and be better shows the profound collective impact for they existed. Their ideologies, activism, creative endeavors influence cultures, and the plural we shows that they impact the world around them. So they bring about massive cultural change. They influence the way we think. So, massive cultural change. And now, students, let us quickly move on to the specimen question papers. It's question number 7. We have just solved this in detail. So, I'll quickly read the questions and we will discuss orally. What happens after a period following the death of a great soul? So after a period, what happens? Peace blooms slowly and always irregularly. So in fits and starts, rather than all at once, eventually peace blooms. We come to terms with this loss. We reconcile ourselves to our lot. And what do you understand by spaces? The emptiness, the void created by their absence. How are they filled? With a kind of soothing electric vibration. And what do our senses whisper to us? They existed, we can be and be better, for they existed. And why? Because we become mature, we start seeing things clearly. Though the world has changed forever, there is a certain sense of maturity and the realization that they have not just vanished from the face of earth. Their contributions, their ideas continue to live on even after their death. The legacy continues, the heritage, the legacy continues, and we must take inspiration, we must take comfort, encouragement from these things. Identify and name any two devices. So, period, peace, alliteration, and then what else? They existed, epizeuxis, two poetic devices. Explain briefly the theme of the poem according to this extract. Just now we have done this. Massive cultural change, the overall contribution, their achievements, their impact on society. So we have discussed this as well. There is a certain kind of gratefulness associated with this extract. So instead of despair and regret, we are now filled with a new hope. We can be better. We must follow their footsteps. Again, another extract, the first stanza. What happens in the forest when trees fall? The small creatures, the big animals, how do they react? What makes rock shudder? The impact. What does it imply? The landscape itself trembles with fear. We have discussed everything in detail. How do the lions react? What does it symbolize? Already discussed. What are the elephant symbols of? Enormous, slow-moving, sturdiest animals, symbolic of them. And they are symbols of the bereaved. We are left behind after the death of these exceptional people. And how do they react to the trees falling? You know this. And the theme of loss of a loved one, falling of great trees. So we lose our grip on our minds. We feel a sense of loss. We do not know what to do, dumbfounded, numb. We seek shelter. So question 7 again. How does the death of great souls affect the air around us? What does this imply? Finish this also. Briefly explain the literary device used in the first 3 lines. When great souls die, what happens? The air around us becomes light, rare and sterile. Try to find out the figure of speech. Come on. Do check the pin comment section also for the easy explanation video, and I'm sure you will be able to understand this. Air around us becomes light, rare and sterile. metaphoric use of the death. A hint. Briefly explain. Then what do I see with a hurtful clarity? Why is it hurtful? So, we are dumb, we are numb, we realize that the world has changed forever. World will not be seen. The world will not be the same anymore. The veil has been removed, the filters have been removed, and we can see things clearly on our own. What happens to a memory when a great soul dies? What happens to it? Suddenly sharpened, and it examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, and promised walks never taken. Sense of regret, despair. Now explain the regret felt at the death of a great soul. Perhaps we could have expressed our gratefulness to them. Perhaps we could have spent more time with them. Perhaps we could have gone through their works and taken inspiration from them when they were alive. So this is a regret felt at the death of a great soul. We could have achieved so many things by following such a great soul when he or she was alive. But now that he or she is dead, we can still follow the footsteps. We'll realize this at the end of the poem. They existed, so we can be better and we can continue living more meaningful lives.